Hey guys, it's Khadroth again. Today we're going to be covering the Rider node, which should be the fourth node of Christmas that you guys will be farming. This one's a little bit more on the difficult side. I'm going to advise most of you guys to actually try to loop this node and not use most of these comps. The reason being is this node is just kind of awful. Some of the better options for this end up being counter traded by the node. So trying to find someone that can loop like Dante's, Lancelot, or even Ushi Summer can all work better than kind of some of these comps. So you guys will see, we'll be going over the Ushi comp right here in this video. The Lancelot and Dante's comps will be covered in another video where we cover all the Lancelot and Dante's comps, so don't worry about that. And also as a reminder, guys, I stream weekly on Twitch, Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern time, so come check me out there for all your FGO content. Okay, so for this first comp here, you guys can see there's going to be a lot of issues, both with the max health remaining out here on the right, as well as the NP levels required here. We are using a Kscope as well, and we are doing double waiver, so this is a pretty high requirement comp. We've tried not to get too whaley on you guys in most of the other videos, but it is impossible here. This is what I kind of meant when I talked about being able to loop, just making this node a lot easier, is because Nito is really going to struggle here on this first one. We're going to be relying upon death procs to get the job done with her, which you guys can level up her first skill higher than 6. We highly recommend it in this case. If you're wondering why NP3 was being used, it's to get the health pools to a more manageable amount. The goal here being to death proc at least 2 of the enemies, so that in worst case are going to have to card out 1 remaining enemy with some Cleo cards. I think the bigger issue is going to happen when you leave 2 or more of the enemies alive with regards to the death proc. That's not going to be clearable in 1 turn, and at that point then we're looking at a 4 turn. So we've done it this way. We haven't included any of the waiver attack buffs in Nitocris's numbers here, and we've done that on purpose to insulate you from that potential 4 turn happening. We don't want a waiver attack buff falling off Cleo, and you guys are going to see this in some of the other comps here as well later on. It's just kind of the annoyance of this node. This Rider node is probably the worst one for us to calculate out of all of them. It has the least possible free-to-play solutions. It's kind of why we are really skeptical about a lot of these comps in general. But again, I highly recommend leveling up that Nitocris first skill as high as you can take it, even to 10. It is worth it down the road for some other things, but especially here, as you guys can see, you're going to be very reliant upon it. The other issue at play here is Cleo is hinging on her Imperial Privilege proccing, and that is a 60% chance of success or failure. And this is again going to be another reason that we don't really recommend Cleo for this. It's just way too RNG. And so even if you clear the Nitocris hurdle, even if you clear the Imperial Privilege hurdle, then we're still looking at some pretty hefty health values in both waves 2 and 3. Especially on that third wave, that is very likely to result, if you don't get 2 or more Cleo cards coming out of the back end of wave 3 there, it's very likely to result in a 4 turn just based off that. So it's not looking good for this comp, and we wanted to show this off because we knew some people were going to ask about Cleo. So for the turn order, we're going to go with Nitocris, Cleo, and waiver in the front line. We're not going to use any of the waiver attack buffs here just because we want to protect you from that potential 4 turn happening. So you're going to go ahead and pop Nitocris's first 2 skills. Again, hopefully you've taken that first skill higher to help out her death chances. You're also going to want to pop Cleo's second skill. That's getting her 10% charge per turn. And you're going to go ahead and NP with Nito. And hopefully you kill at least 2 of the enemies with the death proc. If not, then you guys are going to probably result in a 4 turn. Go ahead and card that out on turn 2 and make your way to wave 2. So here on wave 2, now you're going to go ahead and plug suit out Nitocris for the second waiver. You're going to go ahead and pop Cleo's Imperial Privilege. So now Cleo should be at 90% from that 10% per turn skill. So go ahead and pop one of the waiver's attack buff skills. That should get Cleo to full. Go ahead and NP. She's got a 0% chance of killing the mecha boar, but hopefully it should be within a manageable range of health remaining. Worst case scenario is 18k, and as long as you have a Cleo card, you should be okay there. Now on wave 3, you're going to go ahead and pop all the remaining waiver skills. That should be 90% there. Cleo should have 10% of her own from the charge per turn skill again, so she should be at 100% now. Pop the plug suit attack buff and go ahead and NP, and you should be good. Except for the fact that the Rider Ishtar has a 0% chance of dying as well. Rider Ishtar is the nasty one here, as she can have 34k HP remaining, so you just got to be very careful here. You're going to be reliant on cards, and this is another potential possibility for ending up in a 4 turn. Again, this is kind of why we don't really recommend this comp. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys were sitting here thinking, oh man, Cleo was bad, I'm sure Semiramis is good, right? No. No, in fact, Semi kind of struggles with this as well. So again, we're going to be looking at an NP5 of Semiramis here. We're going to be looking at a SuperScope now, not even a normal Kscope, and that's what's ridiculous about this node. I think it might be a typo here at an NP2 Nito, but again, it's not a huge issue because we're going to be reliant upon death for the most part, just like with the Cleo comp. We're going to be running Merlin and Waver here, but the Nito numbers do not have Waver's attack buff in there. So this node is going to be really spicy. Remember guys, you can try to use something like a Rash in the front wave. It's just, you're probably going to be stepping down to a 4 CE. So doing something like that is going to boil down to your tolerance for this. A Rash does have damage bonus in the event, so he can be a very good option, but the question is, do you want to run 4 CE or 5 CE? It's up to you. The other issue at play here is we're going to be spicy yet again on the max remaining health in both the second and third waves. This is a little bit ridiculous in my opinion that the node is tuned this harshly. We're already operating with basically assassins here at this point who have a natural reduction to their attack powers. You could try to mix in something like alter egos, but again, alter egos are only 150% effective instead of 200% effective like an assassin would be here. So it's just up to you. We highly recommend leveling up that first skill on Nito higher than level 6. That is going to help your death chance. That is going to help you kill the remaining enemies. The goal here being to death at least 2 of the enemies. If you leave 2 or more alive, you will probably end up in a 4 turn. So again, we're going to try to insulate you from that. So talking about our turn order here, you're going to start out with a front line of Nito, Semiramis, and Merlin. You guys are going to go ahead and pop Nito first 2 skills. Remember, no other external modifiers to help her out. Try to level up that first skill as high as you can to help her here. If you don't death, you end up in a 4 turn at minimum, so you're going to end up having to card out wave 1 there. On wave 2, you guys are going to go ahead and pop Merlin's Buster Up skill, and you're going to go ahead and NP here. And this is very spicy about this wave. You have a 0% chance of killing the Mecha Boar. She can leave it with at least 31k remaining health, so that's looking really nasty at that one. This is going to be another reason we don't really recommend this, but the reason why we're showing this off is, yeah, even NP5 Semi is going to struggle with this, and we knew people would ask about it. Hopefully you guys get a lucky roll there, or you get lucky cards and you clear that one out, and then you end up in wave 3. Now on wave 3, you're going to go ahead and plug suit out that Nito for Waver. This should generate stars that Semiramis needs to pop her skills. So from there, you're going to go ahead and pop Semiramis's Buster Resistance down. This will consume the stars the plug suit Waver just brought in. You're going to pop Semiramis's charge skill. You're going to pop all the Waver skills that came in here on Semiramis. You're going to pop the plug suit attack buff, and you're going to pop Merlin's attack buff. From there, you're going to go ahead and NP, and hopefully she kills with a good roll on Rider Ishtar. She has a 31% chance to do it, and you should have at most 22k HP remaining. If you get lucky and you get cards, you're good there on a low roll, but if not, oof. And so that's kind of the problem, is we have a lot of health remaining on both wave 2 and wave 3, and that's even with a SuperScope and NP5, so it's a very nasty comp. So that's it for the Buster comps. Now we're ending up with our 1 arts comp here. We didn't feel like using Nito Assassin, mostly because of the death proc happening before her damage goes out. So if you were trying to refund with Nito Assassin, it really was looking kind of bad in the sense that you could end up shafting yourself with refund there if she death proc. So Shuten is going to be our only arts person for this. Now, as you guys can see, this one is still hefty, just like the Semiramis comp. It's NP5 with a Kscope that is a SuperScope leveled all the way up to 100. You guys are going to have a hard time pulling this one off as well, but it might be a little bit more manageable than the Semiramis comp. It's double Waver here, so that's kind of one of the issues, is we don't have that super effective support like we did with Merlin to kind of help her out, but at least Shuten's got her NP interlude on an A now, and she should be way more capable. Again, you're going to be reliant upon death there for Nito on wave 1, so there's a high probability of this turning into a 4 turn. Remember, the goal here is to death at least 2 of the enemies. If you don't, you're probably looking at that 4 turn. If you do death at least 2, you might have to card one of the enemies out. Hopefully you won't have to do too much damage here, but again, this is the problem with using Nito in this wave. Talking about the skill order here, you're going to start out with a front line of Nito, Shuten, and Waver. You're going to go ahead and pop Nito's first 2 skills. Remember, we highly advocate for having the first skill higher than 6 on Nito. That will increase her death chance. That will help her out, eliminating some of those pesky peddlers there in the beginning. And hopefully you guys end up clearing that wave or carting it out and doing it all in one turn. If not, it's going to take you 2 turns, but wave 1 will be done there. For wave 2, you're going to go ahead and pop Shuten's charisma. From here, you're just going to go ahead and NP. Shuten's already at 100% charge, so that's not an issue, but she does struggle a little bit here in this wave. She actually has a little bit of an advantage over the Mecha Boar as opposed to some of the prior assassins here, but that's still not quite enough with not all of her buffs in here, as she can leave the Mecha Boar with at least 18k remaining and has a 0% chance to kill it outright. So you will always have to card here even with an NP5 super scoped Shuten, but ideally that one should be manageable for you. Now you end up in wave 3 here, and you're going to go ahead and pop Shuten's defense down. You're going to plug suit Nito Chris for waiver in this turn. You're going to pop all the waiver skills now on Shuten. This is going to give her a much needed attack boost, and you're going to go ahead and use the plug suit attack up. Now the reason we waited until here to plug suit is because now we get the stars in this turn, and that's going to be kind of essential. While on the NP here, Shuten has a 4% chance to kill Rider Ishtar outright, which means she can clean kill it with a high roll. It's still a very unlikely event to occur. Odds are you're going to have to be carding here, and you can actually end up leaving Ishtar with 29k HP just about remaining. So you're looking at a pretty dicey carding scenario here, but hopefully at least with class effectiveness and crit stars, you might be able to make something work. But again, this is just like the Cleo and Semiramis comp's going to be fraught with RNG and depending on cards and death procking and everything. So this is yet another reason why we were telling you guys, hey man, you really might want to see if you can loop this somehow. Okay, so here's the first of your looping solutions that isn't Lancelot or Dante's. Now, for those of you guys that have been playing since Summer 1 or the rerun of Summer 1, you guys should have an NP5 Summer Shisho. So that is not an issue here. So now talking about the skill order here, this is relatively easy. There's not much else to denote about the comp. We are going to be a little bit reliant upon refund here, but the rest of that doesn't really matter. So we'll go ahead and start out with the front line of Double Scotty and Summer Scathach. From that point, you guys should pop both Scotty quick ups on Summer Shisho, and that should just allow her to NP and easily clear the first wave. As wave 1 dies, you'll end up in wave 2. You're going to go ahead and pop one of the Scotty's charge skills on Summer Shisho there, and you can go ahead and plug suit them. You don't even need to do Scotty's defense down or anything, because again, the health values are just easily attainable. From there, waiver comes in. You're going to go ahead and pop both waivers' second and third skills, because Summer Shisho should have refunded 30% for that wave. That should get her to 50%, plus the additional 50 from that first Scotty should have you at 100%, and you're going to go ahead and NP again. Boom, nice and easy. She should refund about around 28% here, and this is kind of why waiver is a requirement. You can't get away with someone else, but that should get you kind of where you need to go. And from there, you're going to end up in wave 3, having easily killed wave 2. You're going to go ahead and pop the second Scotty's charge skill plus waiver's first skill to get Summer Shisho to 100% charge. You're also going to pop Summer Shisho's third skill for the quick buff and the plug suit attack buff. You do not even need to use any of Scotty's defense downs in this comp. I will add in a little bit of an addendum. I don't think that the Mage Association is a good solution to this, so please try to stay away from it. I just don't think the charge is there. Even if you could get lucky with the cards, you would really have to get the cards perfect every time for that to work. At that point, probably better going with a different comp. Okay, so for the last looping comp here and final comp of this video, because again, we are going to be doing the Lancelot and Dante's comps in another video, we're going to have Summer Ushi here, and this one's a lot more manageable. I did say before that all the rest of the comps were SuperScope, but I did forget this one is a normal Kscope. That is going to be a much nicer barrier to entry than the SuperScope of the other comps. Unfortunately, we do require NP3 Summer Ushi for this, but again, this should be a lot more manageable. We are going to be reliant upon double Scotty waiver here, and that's going to kind of be the downside. You are going to be mostly fine on damage output, with the only real concern coming here in wave 2, where the Mecha Boar is just anti-trait to her, as you guys can see from the damage output right here. So her damage just going to dip a little bit on the Mecha Boar there, but worst case scenario, you end up with 11.7k HP remaining with a 38% chance to just clear it outright. I don't think it's a too bad outcome. You should be easily able to card that, and I think it'll be pretty manageable in this comp, but otherwise there's really not a lot that we have to expect explain here. You are going to be required to have the first 2 skills for Summer Ushi at rank 10. That is her 40% charge skill as well as her 3 turns of quick up. So that's going to be why we need those at a high level. The third skill does not matter. It's star soaking and the ability to debuff. So for the turn order, we are going to operate this in almost a backwards way compared against the Shisho variant. We are going to be starting out our front line with Waver, Summer Ushi, and Scotty rather than double Scotty. What you guys are going to want to do here on turn 1 is you're going to want to use Waver's second and third skills. That'll get Summer Ushi to 100% charge. You're going to use that first Scotty's quick up here on Summer Ushi, and you're going to use Summer Ushi's second skill. That's her 3 turns of quick up. Go ahead and NP. You'll easily slaughter wave 1, dealing about 91k HP to each of the enemies, which is way more than they need in order to kill them. And then you'll end up in wave 2. Now in wave 2, you're going to go ahead and pop Waver's first skill. That should get an additional 30% charge for her on top of the 20% that she refunded off of wave 1, getting her to 50% there. So go ahead and rotate that Waver out, bring in the other Scotty. At this point, go ahead and use the other Scotty's quick up buff on her and use one of the Scotty's charge skills on her, and she should be at 100% here. Pop your NP and you should be able to kill the Mecha Boar 38% of the time with only at worst 11.7k HP remaining. That should be easily cardable for you. You did also do a plug suit here, which brought some stars with it, so even with the stars of the first NP plus that, you should be easily capable of carding out the Mecha Boar here. Worst case scenario, you might be able to split the defense downs, but I think it's worse if you do that against Ishtar, so that's kind of why we opted for it this way. But now in wave 3, you're going to go ahead and pop the other Scotty charge. She should have refunded about 25% here, so that'd get her to about 75%, and Ushi's charge here should cover her with it being 40%, so you might be able to get away with a little bit less than rank 10 on Ushi's charge skill, but we highly recommend that all the other stuff be at cap like the damage skill, so I wouldn't skimp on this one, especially with how annoying this node can be for some of the other comps. You're going to go ahead and pop both Scotty defense downs here and the plug suit attack buff, and you should be good. Just go ahead and NP, and it should 100% of the time clear Rider Ishtar with this. So again, the only problem you'll see is in wave 2 there. All right guys, that's going to be a wrap for this one. I think I speak for everyone when I say this node. This node was terrible. We had the hardest time coming up with comps for this node. Again, we try not to get too whaley, so I apologize again for that, and that's just the annoyance of this node. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys for the next one. Feel free to follow me on Twitter and join the Discord if you guys haven't already. Be sure to also like, comment, and subscribe. It does help the channel out. If you do join the Discord, go up to the channel right at the very top and assign yourself a role, otherwise the server kicks you. So see that happen to people all the time. But again, I'll see you guys for the next one. Have a good day. Later.